Gentlemen and ladies, welcome to episode 15 of Bad Catholic Dads. I'm one of your hosts, Derek Rogers, along with the incredible John Perez. Jen, how you doing?
Dude, what is up, man? Hey, I gotta say, congratulations.
Man, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. All the hard work I did. Oh, that was so difficult.
Right.
Oof. Hey, congratulations to you too. You have a new baby as well. I mean, that's why, you're coming through so beautifully on my headset.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really good. Get to hear that live intro and stuff like that. That's really nice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like, listeners, real quick, last episode, trash episode. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't trash, but on my end, audio was pretty bad, but I got a new mixer. Everything's fixed. I'm good. Back on the saddle, as I say.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, and it's great to have you coming through so clearly on this headset. So yeah, this is episode 15. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that came up during the birth of my new baby and some of the aftermath about like things you have to deal with as a dad.
I know you're going to talk about it. One word though. I know you're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But in one word, in a nutshell, how's it been? The past 72 hours.
I'm going to say, it's two words. I'm going to just say surprisingly peaceful.
Okay. Hey, there you go.
As much craziness is going on, it was surprisingly peaceful. So
Man.
I don't know if that just comes with having a fourth kid or what, or the fact that Bethany handled everything like a champ.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think a lot of it had to do with prayers, and just a lot of support that we got from everybody around. Thanks to the Bad Catholic Dad community, shooting out prayers and, got to see stuff on Twitter going on and stuff like that. So that was really nice to see that support. Like Bethany's labor, I'm like, look, honey, we're loved, and get to show her like the stuff. So it was really good. But yeah, it was a great adventure. So
that's awesome, man. Can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, you brought it up, man. We got this, I guess a birthday shot because we can't have cigars on. It doesn't work as well.
No, audio wise, it doesn't work as well. Although
cigars,
drinks doesn't really work as well either. But
it doesn't. You might have the after effect later on. I mean, we might be more enjoyable.
So you just celebrated, you and your family celebrated the birth of your new son, which is awesome, dude.
Yes.
How's that feel? 2 daughters, 2 sons, man.
That was the incredible blessing.
That's
too,
so awesome, bro.
Just having because we were pretty sure my wife was definitely thinking it was going to be a girl, and it just didn't happen that way. And it was like the weird thing too is that our kids have alternated hairstyles too. It's been blonde, then dark hair, then blonde, and now it's dark hair. And so we've gone 2 girls, 2 boys. So
very cool.
Yeah, to have that kind of balance in the force is pretty awesome.
Definitely. You told me you recently got those House of Hogwarts shot glasses, and so I wanted to do a shot with you before we started the episode, kind of celebrating healthy baby, healthy wife, healthy family, which is fantastic. So Derek, let's pour one out, and to your I'm gonna cheers to you and your family, and to your new son. Are we allowed to say, can we say the name on the podcast?
Yeah, let's just say it.
Isaac Augustine, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Isaac, what a strong name, by the way. My wife was like, I was like, what do you think of the name? She was like, strong name. I was like, yeah, definitely.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Derek, to your family, to your son, to your wife, to everything that you guys have gone through, I'm so proud of you guys. Salute. Cheers.
Hey, thank you. Salute. Mm-hmm. Nice. And that was from a Gryffindor shot glass, by the way. So,
1 shot to Gryffindor. So, very cool, man.
So thanks. That was a good toast, man. I haven't had a better toast, I guess, for any of my kids. So thank you very much for that. Sounds really good.
Anytime. I'll be ready for the next one too, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Good. Let's keep that tradition rolling. So I just want to go over just a few things about the, I guess, successful birth. Because the kid was so delayed in coming out of the womb, he was enjoying his stay, and the birth date was supposed to be June 12th. But of course, we had to go to an induction date because the child was getting bigger, and I'm going to be leaving in 2 days. So it was really important that that baby was born. So the day before, we went to this place at the mall called Billy B's, and Billy B's is like this indoor. Do you remember Discovery Zone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's kind of like that, except like a lot more climbing and stuff like that. And there's like this ball pit area that you can shoot like guns at. It's like American Gladiator, and there's trampolines, and then there's all these slides. So as a family, it was our last family outing, and Bethany was hoping to start the labor by going and doing all that stuff and climbing.
Right.
So we had it was kind of a cool last family gathering, because what we were going to be doing is in the morning, we called to make sure there's room at the hospital, and the contractions had already kind of started in the morning.
Oh,
so
cool. Good.
I went and dropped off Bethany at the hospital, and then I went to go drop our kids off at Avila's godparents' house, the Alcantaras. And, they all knew that it was going on. They had their bags and everything. So I got to drop off the kids there. And that was super helpful, because we don't have any family in the area. In the past, my mother-in-law Marcel has come here, and my sister-in-law Jen has come here and helped, and that was always like, I realized it was underappreciated at the time, because when you go through it by yourself with a bunch of kids, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. But we dropped off the kids, and they were all set, so I went back to the hospital, and it was good to have Bethany go there and try to get signed in. But John, I will tell you, as soon as I came into that room, because Bethany's all set in the delivery room, these nurses, they said hi. It was they're kind of like the Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn of the nurses. So like the Dumb and Dumber duo,
right?
Jim Carrey and all.
Oh my gosh.
So, dude, I don't even know. Like, I'm glad it's the fourth one, because if that was our first one, our first experience, that would have scared us a little bit. The one nurse was just a little bit aloof, I guess is the way to put it. And the other one that seemed fine, it was her first day on the job at this hospital, so she didn't know how to do things.
Oh, wow.
And I came in, and I don't know, as you know, I have a problem with needles. And I came in, and they were immediately talking about like how difficult it is getting this needle into her arm. And then they had like used her as a pincushion on the right side of her arm, and it didn't work. And the problem was like the blood started swelling up in her arm because of the veins, and they're like, we can't get your veins. And then they did the same thing to the left side, and her poor arms, like before she even, like, this is right in the beginning, the IVs, her arms were like all I felt so bad, because first of all, I couldn't do anything, because I'm already in a state of paralysis, because they're talking about giving shots in the arm, and I already have this relentless desire to stay away from needles. So I'm trying to stay away in the corner of like the hospital thing, sucking my thumb, trying to stay away from hearing those. And they keep talking about like, oh, we just can't get it in your veins and all this stuff. And I felt so bad for her, because I knew it was hurting her and it was bothering her. And then to top it off, they have to put on the blood pressure machine on her arm. And that just every 5 minutes when that's going off, it was causing her so much pain and discomfort. And then for the rest of the time, it was just things like they had the monitor on the wrong side, and they had to always go back and forth and do this stuff. And there was always like, oh yeah, how do we do this? And oh, we forgot to put this bag on this. And it was the whole time. And it felt like it was one of those like pranked shows where it's like, come on, dude, something's goofy going on here. And later on, like right before the baby was born, there was like, or it was somewhere during the time, the alarms went off, like all the red alarms, and there was like this little siren going, and I was like, what is going on? Is there like an active shooter in the hospital? I didn't know what was happening. But it turned out, of course, it was our favorite dynamic duo. They had, I guess, wheeled out the baby at the wrong time, and it set off all the alarms, like a different baby. And it was just like, it was everything. When we were being taken to our like the recovery room, like after the baby was born, they didn't even know what room we were going to, and they're like, just wait out here. We're gonna just make sure. Like, it was so, and we never had problems with this hospital before at all with this, and we've had great nurses in the past, and the doctors have always been great. But these two, I just felt bad because Bethany has low blood pressure, but for some reason, and I think it was a lot of the stress, she was having problems with her blood pressure, because I think it was like the pain she was going through and like this kind of seemingly incompetence that was going on. And I felt so bad for Bethany. Like I couldn't do like anything for that. So kind of the same scenario was going on as our last one, where I was like, it was way past lunchtime. I wanted to go eat, and I'm like, honey, I'm going to go to Roy Rogers.
Oh, gosh.
Like, just for tradition's sake, right across the street. So I'm like, this will start the labor going, because it always seems to happen. So I crossed the street, went to Roy Rogers. I actually got to eat my meal there this time, and nothing happened. And during that time, I was trying to figure out the names for our kid because I had this weird gut feeling it was going to be a boy. Again, for the listeners, we don't find out the gender, so we had the girl name all solidified. But I was like, dude, I think it's going to be a boy. So I was like thinking about it the night before. I was going through our saint book, like trying to get a good idea of like what to name this child if it's a boy. Made it back from Roy Rogers, and we started watching a Netflix show for Bethany. Like, we had the phone there, and we were watching, I think, Anne with an E or Keepers. I forget. Oh, it was Anne with an E. So we were finishing up like one of those episodes, and Bethany, like 5 minutes in, she's like, you know what? Let's just stop it. I don't feel the best. And we had the nurses come in, and they're like, oh yeah, you're ready to go. And so right around 2, the doctor came in, and I'm just there holding Bethany's hand, and it was just like, it's that feeling again, and it doesn't go away, where you're just kind of like excited because you don't know what's going to happen. And you're also so much on your wife's side because she's going through so much pain, and it's just like, come on, you're just trying to be there, be supportive of like every like strength and every tidbit of energy that they're spending. It's like, I'm so proud of you. You're doing great. We're going to see this baby. It's so exciting. And finally, like, Bethany was having a little bit trouble, like, with delivery. And then sure enough, the baby is starting to finally come out, and Bethany is like, she's just a champ. And the baby's coming out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this baby is massive. Like, it's like a mammoth, like a woolly mammoth. It had so much hair on its head too. And it was dark hair. So I immediately thought of my daughter Avila because she looked very much like this. And then right away, you could tell everyone knew, the nurses and everything knew, we had no idea what gender was. And some of them stayed by to just find out. And it was a boy. And I don't know, someone yelled, it's a boy. And I was that battle cry. I think I would have reacted the same if it was a girl.
Yeah.
But I was like, first of all, I was so happy in the first place because the baby's coming out. Everything's going to be okay.
Sure.
There's no surgery going to be required. You're like, oh my gosh, yes, this is how we've been praying for it to happen. And then to top it off of that big surprise, like boy or girl, and it's a boy, I started crying. I was like laughing and I was crying. I was hugging my wife, and they, threw the baby on Bethany, and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is like giant. And so everyone, the nurses are all like, he's a big boy, and they like grab him and like holding him in the air and like, let's see how much he weighs. And it felt like you went fishing, like, let's see how big it is. And they put him on the scale. The numbers are rolling. And when it hit over 10 pounds, it was like, what?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Immediately, like, I knew from looking at the baby, because it just looked different than the other ones, how big it was. I was like, oh my gosh, honey, I'm so sorry. And you were the boss.
Yeah. That's biggest baby yet, huh?
Biggest baby by 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Terry was at 8
awesome.
pounds, and we thought that was huge. So 10 pounds. Biggest, at least in I think in my family's history.
Oh wow.
So,
wow,
and that
dude.
was how big was Lucy?
She was oh man, I'm such a terrible father, dude. I already
that's
forgot.
okay.
I think she was about if James was like, James was tiny because he came out 2 weeks before. She was a lot bigger than James. I think she was about a pound and a half. So she was like probably 8, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like,
she was like on date though. Yeah. You know what I mean? She was like right there at 40 weeks, I think.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, your kids are either early or on time. That's the way to get in the professional world. They need to be like that. So that's very good that they're following those rules. After that, like, we were just so happy. They're cleaning up the baby. They're doing all this stuff. They had to check the blood sugar right away because he's so chunky that, I don't know. It's like, happy birthday, kid. Here's
that makes sense. Yeah.
A bowl of diabetes.
That, yeah.
And so, and then we opened up the sonogram, and they were right. It said it's a boy on the sonogram.
Yeah, there you go.
On the envelope.
Can't get your money back now. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think I would have wanted. If it said a girl, I'm like, yeah, we'll just keep it. To even out the teams. But the weird thing was, John, and we haven't had this. It was like, usually we have this idea of when they're born, like when Blaze was born, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be Blaze. He looks like Blaze. We looked at this giant cannonball of a baby, and we were like, we don't know what we're gonna name this little fella. And that was the first time where we were just kind of like, the girl name was solidified, the boy name, we didn't know what to do. And we always try to follow with the saints. So there's a Saint Isaac, and Saint Augustine were the two that we eventually came upon. But some of the names we were going around, like, it was tough. And it was one of those things we're holding, like, who are you? And you're like looking at this face, and you're going over the names and what they mean to you and how they apply to this baby. And it took a little bit where we figured Augustine first, because, like, we felt like that was a big name, you know, like, and it's like, this is a big baby. And then we immediately thought with the bigness idea of Gus Gus on Cinderella, that big mouse, Gus Gus the fat mouse, and we're like, oh,
Right.
he's like our little Gus Gus.
There you go. That's
And
awesome.
so that was that. And then Saint Isaac, Bethany has always been a fan of Isaac, and just the story not only of Abraham and Isaac, but Saint Isaac jokes, like with the whole kind of Native American like spin to it, where he's a Jesuit, kind of going along with like what we read with Silence. You have these Jesuits that, you know, are called into apostasy. This is a man that was martyred, and he united the sufferings and the pain that he was going to endure, and he, you know, attached it to Christ and his suffering. And you know, he was killed by a tomahawk, and Katir is our Native American saint, and for some reason we're just drawn to that Native American sainthood stuff.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
we really like that combo, and it took us a while, but you know, we finally got that. So we were really happy with that.
Very cool.
And Bethany this time too, she wanted to have the kids visit the baby once we had
Once you guys were settled and everything.
yeah, once we were settled.
Right.
Yeah, you know, because you have all those IV wires.
Yeah,
and they're
I
kinda
get it.
concerned
Same
and-
thing. Same thing with us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what we did. We kind of did that, and it was great because the godmother drove the kids over, and it was just a really good moment to have them come in there, and they were all excited. And I thought my daughter Avila was going to be upset because she wanted a girl, but it's a boy. Everyone was just, it was just a really happy moment.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it was just, and again, there was like a lot of crazy stuff going on, but it was the most I had felt at peace. Like I didn't feel stressed out. The only thing though, and this is one thing I want to bring up to you because I want to ask you questions.
Sure.
The one thing that was stressing me out, and I don't know why, it was like all the other things that were going on. The other previous births, like I felt like I did an okay job with updating the family on status. And this year I was like, I'm going to be even better with it, like this update of what's going on. So I would have these group texts, and I would have Facebook Messenger for my immediate family, you know, like the grandparents and the siblings.
Were they down there or no?
No one was down here. So, you know,
They're waiting for the word, right?
Yeah. And the problem is with this instant gratification time period, you know, where it's like you immediately see who's reading your message and they can reply back instantaneously. And compare it to years ago where it would be weeks before you knew like a baby was born, you know, and there was, I think, a peacefulness about that. And I really enjoyed like letting them know, like, you know, pray for Bethany. This is going on with the epidural.
Sure.
Or, you know, so-and-so. But, you know, there came a time where it was just like, you know, what's the news we haven't heard in a while, you know, and it's kind of like, it's okay, you know, it's okay, guys. And then once the baby was born, I told them, I sent everyone a message just saying, like, to them first before we made it Facebook official. We're like, guys, the baby is born. You know, we haven't figured out a name yet. We're going to just, you know, give us some time because Bethany, you know, they're both doing great. And thank you for the prayers. Everyone's doing awesome. And I left it at that. And then, you know how it is after a baby is born, right? Like there's like so much going on, and you're kind of there with your wife, and you're trying to figure out like what's the next step and doing this. And now with our kids, I had to make sure like they were going to be okay. And, you know, time is going by when you're doing this. And I started getting, like, I got a message from one of our parents saying like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. We haven't heard from you in a while. Is ever, you know, and then of course it starts that snowball of like, yeah, what is going on? And it was like, oh my gosh. And there was so much going on. Like I was trying to feed my kids because it was around like dinner time. And I'm like, my phone is dying. And I was like, so like getting stressed out. And I'm trying to send them a picture, and it wasn't working. Avila spills her chocolate milk everywhere because we stopped at McDonald's. And
in the car?
No, it was on the floor in public. And I was like,
Okay.
oh my gosh. And that stressed me out the most. I'm curious for you, what did you find as a balance for, because you've gone through this twice.
Sure.
Did you have your family there each time, or how did you deal with the updates? Because there's that, we have to let our family know, and then we have to let like everyone else, you know,
Sure.
know. How did you go about doing it? Because I want to find a compromise here, because part of me wants to just saying we're going to the hospital, pray for us, and then when we're ready, here's the baby.
Yep. Sure.
But the other hand, I kind of want to let them like, okay, this is what's going on. Pray specifically because she's going into, you know, like the serious part of labor right now.
Sure.
What did you do?
I think that's a great question. The first time was definitely much different than the second time. The first time I felt like I had to update them, like not had to, but I felt like it was my obligation to just update.
Well, because you don't have too many jobs. As
yeah, exactly. And like,
right?
I feel like a lot of dads' jobs are updating family, close friends, and being a bodyguard. You know, who's coming in, who's coming out of the room, right?
Yeah, the gatekeeper.
Right. The first time was like that. I feel like I was updating a little bit, but I don't know. Like for me, even in the second time, I would just text them or I would just message them like for big time moments. Like, so we did have family both times. Second time, less family than the first time. The first time.
Did you have them waiting at the hospital?
So yeah, the first time was waiting at the hospital until like 4 a.m. It was crazy. Excuse me. Second time, I was like, hey guys, don't worry about coming to the hospital. We'll let you know. I'll text you updates when everything goes through. You know, when baby's healthy and everything goes through, I will text you and give you updates then. Second time, I felt like I had a better handle on it just because I went into it, maybe not on purpose, but I went into it with a game plan of just like, guys, we're going to the hospital. Pray for us. I'll text you, you know, when I have updates, right? And so, like, I would never be like, okay, we're just sitting around. I wouldn't do that. Like, we're just sitting around. Okay, we're waiting. I would just be like, boom, you know, pray for us. We're going to the hospital. You know, epidural's in. She's doing great. And then, you know, okay, pray for us right now because it's game time. And then next update would be like, here's the baby. Here's a picture of the baby, you know. Yeah. And then, you know, name and weight and everything. Like, I didn't feel like I feel like for, especially in the future, I feel like I don't have to update them as much as I did the first time. Yeah. I think just finding a balance of letting them know, like, hey, you know, this is what's happening, and I will text you, you know, when I have an update, right? Like, so they're not, so you don't leave, it's almost like closing the door and only opening the door just to give them an update, you know, instead of leaving the door open, you know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. I mean, because it was difficult. I think one of the things that threw me off too is that we didn't know what the name was going to be exactly. And I think that kind of delayed us too, and just kind of letting everyone know and taking that picture or submitting the picture, because generally when you want to let your family know, it's like, this is the baby's name. Yeah. And we did let them know, like, everyone is fine. But I was, you know, after, I don't know, maybe it was 2 hours after I said everyone's fine, the baby's born. It was something like that. And, you know, when we started having people like, oh my gosh, we haven't heard from them in a while. They've probably died from the Zika virus, you know, and I was just thrown off about how it really kind of distracted me from stuff.
Yeah. And I would say like, I guess that is kind of our generation now, you know, in terms of like what you were saying earlier. It's almost like people expect an answer right away. Yeah. Because the technology has advanced so far. You have, not only do you have, you know, email, which takes a little bit, but now you have text messages that just go straight through, right? Yeah. And I feel like, I think the one thing we have to be better at is, one, just respecting parents and their time, but also just understanding, like, on our side as parents, is just being like, okay, we have to set the expectation that, hey, I'm not going to text you every hour for an update, but I'm just going to let you know that I will send you an update, you know, when I get it, you know what I mean? Or when we figure something out, you know?
And I know, like, and I want to set the record straight because I know both of my mothers are going to be listening to this.
Hey, Derek, what am I talking about? You should have texted them, like, every second, Derek. What's wrong with you? I'm just kidding.
Like, I always knew I liked that Jon the best. He's the best one. I appreciate, I know what their desire is. They want to know. They care so much.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yep.
And I understand that. And, you know, for me, and they understand this too, it's like the priority is like they're in the moment first with your kids and family. And, you know, I guess the thing that I found out is I really appreciated having them here for the births, because I knew that my kids were with them and I can get in contact, like, you guys can come over here. And it was the first time that we didn't have anybody from our family here to help. And I think that kind of detachment
that's so true.
added to that.
Yeah. For Lucy, we had my parents here. Like, luckily they came up like with a couple hours after I told them, hey, I think today's going to be the day. And they came up, and it was awesome because James was with them, and they got to take care of him for like a couple days. I stayed at the hospital, and I know that's probably not realistic as we keep having more kids. You know what I mean? Because you didn't stay at the hospital, right? Because you had to take care of the rest of your kids. Yeah.
Bethany was like, she had a vacation for her. Well, yeah, as much as it is when you go through all this therapy. Yeah. But like, she had this time away from the kids, which I know she doesn't want either, but it was good time for her to rest. Because in the past, I think 2 of the births, like I was able to stay because of family. I was able to be with her more, but this time it was kind of like we had that hour of going to see mommy and the baby, and then I had them, after that. And she was by herself, so we'd message each other back and forth, or we'd have videos of the kids. But it was, it was weird.
Was this your first time doing that? Because you said
first time
previously
for that
your family was there, right? How did you feel about how did you feel? Because for me, I remember being at the hospital and I was so sad because James couldn't be with us the whole time. Yeah. He just had to understand. Luckily, he's young enough where he didn't understand what was going on, but it was just so hard on our part because there would be times in the hospital where we'd be like, man, we miss James so much. I know we have this awesome kid in front of us that just was born, but man, we there's nothing like our, like the other kids too. And for us, it was pretty hard. I gotta know, how were you feeling, not only being away from your wife, but I guess knowing that she was away on her side, she being away from you guys, from the kids too.
Yeah, it was a weird time because for Blaze, when he was born, we had the girls come visit, and I was able to stay there a little bit more because we had family over, but we had the girls visit and they kind of had an emotional breakdown because they finally get to see mommy and they don't want to go and things are different. So there was kind of there's more emotional anxiety going on for them. And this time when they came to visit, they were just so happy and they were so really chill about things. And I think it's because we communicated to them beforehand what was going to happen and we really prepped them. But it was weird because there's a different maturity as you go through your stages in life. You're the first baby, your second one, you're there at the hospital a lot. And then, when the third one was born, I started going home to help with the kids more. And then this time I was more hands off after the birth than I've been in the past because my life and my children dictated that. And it was strange because I knew I personally didn't want that, but I knew my responsibility and what was going to work best. And Bethany was on the same page with this is I need to watch the kids here, keep them used to their normal pattern of taking baths, eating dinner and doing this. So it'll help the emotional tie-in when mommy does come back. And when we got the baby back here at home yesterday, it was awesome because there was no emotional breakdowns. Everyone was kind of prepped. And I think that had to do with me taking that step back and I guess doing that more mature role of, even though I want to be with my wife and my new baby, the time dictated that I had to do that. And I was at peace with it. And I think, a lot of those prayers and just going through it a few times helped that. But I was surprised actually how emotionally unnerving it wasn't, and that everyone was able to keep it cool and everything. Sure. But I do miss that time of being at the hospital, helping Bethany get stuff.
Eating the hospital food, dude. Oh.
Yeah. That Roy Rogers across the street. You don't have to do it. Roy Rogers. Yeah. The one thing that Bethany said, which was different, is that they stopped taking the baby away from the mom to be in that nursery, and they do everything in the room now. They do the baths, they do all the checkup, the blood.
Oh, really? I thought that was normal. We've never had the nursery thing for us. Yeah,
for all the other ones we've had it where they have to go take it and do the weighing and this and that. So
yeah,
I think that really helped her.
They do all the testing too, and in the room,
yeah.
Because the only time we did nursery was when James was born, and we were not sleeping, and he was really fussy, and the nurse was just like, "Hey, I think if you guys don't mind, why don't I take him to the nursery and you guys can get a couple hours of sleep?" We were like, "Yeah." At this point, it is what it is. Let's take her up on the offer,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, and one of the cool things too is at each one of these big moments in your life when you're gaining another kid or whatever, there's these transition periods where it's there's this opportunity to do something, I guess, special with your kids. And I didn't have Bethany at home the next day because she was at the hospital, and I had the 3 kids. So we went out to the public pool, and it was just Daddy and the other kids, and it was kind of my last time together with just the 3 of them, Mm-hmm. And it was a really good experience because we got to go in the pool. They got to hang off me while we were just swimming, and we had a really good time. We talked about how fun it's going to be when the baby and mommy are coming, and
Can your girls swim?
Kateri was learning how to do it.
They basically
have when we go in the 4-foot deep water, they have their little floaties on. Yeah. They're holding on to my neck.
And you're just carrying
really Blaze? When you're in that deep water, man, you know exactly where your kids are because they're clinging on to you.
Okay.
It's really good. When they go in those little mini pools, that's when you're
Are you just carrying Blaze?
Yeah, I had him. I would hold him in my arms. We have like the little floaty, like the little donuts, you know, the inner tubes, and
Right.
they would float around in that. And it was a really fun time to have that kind of thing. And you know, when the baby got home and everything, it was just this feeling of like, wow, we were really blessed. We had this healthy kid, the pregnancy, everything went well. We knew we had people that were caring for us, you know, had family that has been praying, you know, we had friends that were doing that. And we just felt really blessed for this birth, for just everything. It was a really beautiful time. But the one thing that, like, again, I mentioned before, it's so different without family here. To have that kind of, because it felt like you were doing it on your own. And I know we are so thankful for the godparents in our life, because Kate is Avila's godmother, and you know, her husband as well, Vic. They were able to take our kids to their house, and we knew they were in good hands. We know they're a great Catholic couple that have kids right at our same ages. And then, you know, the other one, the Spearing family, they were able to be like, they were on call at nights. Like, I'm like, if, you know, this baby gets born, if one of you can come over, they're like, no problem, say no more, we'll come over here, or drop off the kids, whatever you want.
Awesome.
And they were able to help us when Bethany gave me a call and she said, oh, the hospital has this dinner for two kind of thing, so you can have this final meal together, like the Last Supper, before you go back home.
Right.
Which is so funny because I remember that kind of meal when we had Kateri, and there's this, you know, because it's you and your spouse, and it's before your life change. Like, there's this weird kind of purgatory you're in, where it's like you're in this hospital room. It's not where you want to be, but you want to go home. But there's also like, oh, you know, like, it's kind of nice just to have that time together before you go to all the crazy kids. And there's that scene in Jurassic Park where Tim and Lex are in the visitor center after he gets electrocuted, and they're eating Jell-O, and they're so happy, and they're eating Jell-O, and they're looking at each other, and then they hear the Velociraptor, and they all freak out, and the Jell-O's shaking on the spoon. That's kind of like how it feels like, because you're like, this is really nice to have this date again, but we're going to be going like that transition time into our life, and it's kind of scary, where now all of a sudden we're going to have 4 kids, and it's going to be
God
really
bless you guys.
insane.
Oh my gosh.
But I kind of want to transition to just talking about godparents.
Sure.
Because they just helped us out so much with being there for us whenever we needed. We knew that they were praying for us, and they were just willing to help at all times. And what we found is, like, sometimes, you know, choosing the godparents are just, it's one of the most difficult things. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it reminds me of a different version of when you're picking people for your wedding, like your best man or maid of honor and things like that. Like, there's so many things that come into play. And we got ours for Isaac now, and it's just that deciding process. I was curious for you, like, I want to ask you, and I want to give our thing. How did you decide on your godparents for your kids? What was your reason for picking them? And, like, do you have guidelines when you're doing that? Or, like, are you just kind of like open to what the Spirit is doing? Or are you like really mentally preparing for like these things? Like, how did it go around for choosing your godparents for your kids?
I think we were kind of in the same boat as you. Like, we're super traditional. So, like, in a little background information for the listeners, Filipinos, in the Filipino culture and in the Filipino tradition, you pick like lots of godparents, dude. Like, primary, secondary, you know, and then
really?
And then other godparents, you know, and they're all your godparents. It's crazy. You know, crazy in kind of a cool way, but kind of in like, I don't feel like, and I'm not trashing on it or anything like that. I promise you, any Filipino listeners, I'm Filipino. I'm not hating on my own culture or anything like that. But I'm saying, like, I don't think it's as taken serious enough in the Filipino culture tradition, because for me and Fatima, like, you know, number one, you know, we're traditional, you know, and we're super Catholic. So we're like, no, only one godparent, you know, per, you know, only 2 godparents, right? That's it. Like, what the church says. We follow what the church says. And for us, it's like, it's super hard, right? Because for us, our guidelines are pretty simple, and probably my wife can explain it way more than I can. But for us, it's like, pretty much if we died tomorrow, and then our kids had to be left with the godparents, would they be able to help our child along on the road to heaven, right?
Okay. Awesome,
and so for us, it's like, we want, when we choose godparents, we want them, number one, to be faithful Catholics, but not only faithful Catholics, but practicing Catholics, you know. someone who's in their faith, practicing it on a daily basis, going out into the world, spreading the message, all that, and so it's hard because there's so many people we're like super close to, and we're God bless, they're good people, but for us sometimes these people aren't, and it's snobby to say this, but they're not good enough to be our child's godparents because number one, we want to look out what's best for our child, you know what I mean, in terms of spiritual life.
Absolutely.
And not only like if we died tomorrow, we want to pick people who will help our child today, even if we're still alive, get to heaven. Who's going to be a great example for James and Lucy, so for us it's super hard because there's so many people who are close to us, and I'll even say like family members, close friends, that we can't choose because we want that, we want the best examples of what a practicing Catholic is. So for us, I remember for Lucy, we were like, it's so hard, you know what I mean? Because there are some people I'm like, and then sometimes I just want to be like, it's okay because, maybe one day they'll be super Catholic, super practicing Catholic, or, you know what I mean? But I think when we decide, it's number one, we have to have the total communication with each other. Fatima and I, and number two, it's just, let's think about today, in the future, you never know what's gonna happen in the future, but that's how we decide on godparents. Kind of our guidelines is just, hopefully they're practicing Catholics, and they are the best example for our children.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with like everything you're saying. Is it difficult for you with like, I mean, in a way, like some people pick their viewpoint of godparents. I'll put it this way.
Sure.
Their viewpoint of godparents is like, this is an honor I want you to have. They're not really looking at it as the spiritual aspect. Do you see like it difficult not picking your family members first, like your brothers or your parents? Like, do you find a conflict with that? Or they might be your kids' godparents. Like, I don't know. Like there's always this thing of, I don't want to like upset someone by not picking them. But when you're describing your guidelines about, we want what's best for our kids.
Right.
I think that's a big deal. Do you find that are you worried at all about like upsetting like any of your family members when you pick the godparents?
Yeah, definitely. Like for us, that's why it's so hard, right? Because in Filipino culture, you would usually pick your like brothers, your close cousins. And for me, it's like, I love my family. And it's super hard to, not pick them, right? Because I think it's cool that people get to have that honor, you know what I mean? And I think it's, I don't know, maybe I'm just not in touch with picking godparents nowadays, but I feel like, one, it's cool that they give the honor to people, but also like, I don't know if it's like less, I don't know. Maybe you have a different perspective, but I feel like it's not as important nowadays than it was back then. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, so my godparents are two people I love so much, and I think there was different viewpoints maybe back, like the way the church, I don't know, is presenting it now. My godparents are my uncle, who I love, and my aunt, and I love both of them. They're not practicing Catholics.
Sure.
And again, let's say if my family had died, like, to me, so is my uncle and aunt from different marriages. So one on my dad's side, one on my mom's side. And that's the thing. I love them so much, but I don't look to them, even though my aunt, she's part of the Greek Orthodox Church, and I have so much respect for them because they are very good religious people,
sure.
very God-fearing, like amazing. Like I really respect so much that they do, but it's not, in the Catholic faith. And I know for Bethany and I, like one of our guidelines that we set early on is that we wanted to find two people that are married and practicing Catholics and with kids like right around our age. So our first one were our friends, and they're like a very important part of our life at the time. We wanted to have those people that represent what we're looking for spiritually, like kind of like an image of what we are, how we see ourselves, except as a spiritual way. So we're looking for a mom and dad that are looking to care of a spiritual, kid. And we think
Definitely.
We felt like the married couple was the best way to go. So our first one, great Catholic couple that live in Bakersfield, California. And we were really close to them. They came and visit us a lot. They were going through, births at the same time. And to this day, they're people that, we see them praying for us like on Facebook, or we, get feedback from them, and we're the godparent of one of their daughters too, Chloe. And it was just like the perfect people that we know that if something happened or if we needed something from them, they would be willing to do it because they are good Catholics. They're practicing. They're going through the same thing. So that was easy one. And our life, like God has given us these people to show up at the right times. Ours for Avila is Kate and Vic, and they are another family that is like, they're really close to our family just with helping and going to the same kind of school system with stuff. And again, they were there to help us whenever we wanted. And Blaze is the Spearings that live down the street, and another great Catholic family. And these people show that they care, and we know that if it's the first communion, we know that they're going to try their best to show up, but they're going to pray and they're going to go out, to do the spiritual thing. So that was always our guideline. That helped us a lot because I want my brothers to be, or my sister, a godparent, like really badly.
Sure. Same.
But at the same time, they're not in that stage of life to be like I don't see them as a parent right now. And I don't see them, in this strong relationship with another person to know what it is to care for a child, not only physically, but spiritually. I know my siblings are going to be awesome at it at some point. I really wish they were all married right now or in a really serious relationship, because that would be, that would make it easier. And for my mom and dad, like, not picking them, they are just an amazing presence in my life all the time. And I know I can count them no matter what. They're already grandparents. They have a big responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
And so that was like, that's how we go and just decide things. It's difficult for us though, because you do want to honor your family, but I feel like having these guidelines that we kind of established and sticking to them it has helped us make these difficult decisions.
And I would even say, like, just kind of piggybacking on what you said, it, like, even though we're not picking our family to be godparents, it doesn't mean that they don't have an important role in our child's lives, right? I mean, they're uncles and aunts, they're grandparents. I mean, talk about already an amazing responsibility, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. An amazing calling, and I'll leave it at that. How awesome is that though?
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely right. Just giving them the role of a godparent doesn't make you like, well, you're my favorite brother because now you're God.
Exactly.
It's like you're ready in your life for this thing. And the same thing for me, it was so difficult picking a wedding party because it's like,
my gosh,
do I pick my brother or do I pick the guy that's been by my side while I met Beth? And it's so difficult. Sure. And again, it doesn't take anything away from my brothers or my sister, or my parents, because I love all of them so much and they are already so important to me. But it is just this idea of like, we're looking for godparents that can help our child grow spiritually. If we pass away or if we need something from it, we know they'll be there for the needs of our children in the Catholic faith. And that's really important, that they can see an image of like, this is what godparents are. They're God-fearing people that raise their children, that love the church, that continue to carry it on. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. It doesn't make anybody any less or any more if it's a family member, because uncles, aunts, grandparents, mom and dad, like, that's all super important. And it's so good to have this kind of communion of saints working together. Like,
takes a village. Yeah,
exactly. And it really does. Like the spiritual, like it's so helpful. So that was, I don't know. That's the way we kind of roll with it. And we're blessed. We have two goddaughters, which is really awesome. And again, we were picked. It was it wasn't just me being picked or just Bethany being picked. It was us together being picked. For the Boozer family and then the Neal family, Bethany's sister. So it was awesome to be honored with that privilege also at times. So it's really cool. Like during our nightly prayers, we're like, and we pray for our godchildren. And, it's sad though when people move away and you don't get to see them as much, but you can still be active in their life for prayers, and that's like a big part of it for me, is that I know that the people that we pick for our children are going to be praying for our children and looking out for their spiritual well-being.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else about godparents?
Nope, I think we covered. That's all. That's great.
Is Fatima there? Is she there now?
She is here, but she's in the room with James putting him to bed.
Well, and on this topic, we decided on Isaac's godparents.
Okay.
We're waiting on a response. We haven't asked them yet. So
Very
John.
Yes.
And Fatima.
No.
I want to know, will you be our kids.
Are you serious, bro?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm a yes, but let me tell Fatima.
Just tell her. Yeah. Just
Fatima. I don't want to wake her up, but
yeah, don't wake her up.
Oh man.
But if she, I respect.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
No, because everything that you just said about like what you care about for godparents, like, and Bethany and I have been talking about this, and it's like we know that you guys are this amazing Catholic couple that can pray for Isaac. I love the fact that there's a little boy, and I know that you'll be a great godfather for him, not only helping spiritually, but helping out with some video game stuff too, and sports and stuff like that. Yeah. So like to us, it's always like looking for that ideal Catholic married couple that has kids right around the same age as ours, and you guys fit the bill perfectly. So if once you talk with your wife about it, we would love you guys to be the godparents of Isaac.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you. Like, that's such an honor, and I'll definitely tell Faye or Fatima, and man, I'm excited. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
For no, man, for even asking.
Because again, it's with our life, like wherever we've been in our life, God has provided us with that person. Because sometimes it's like, well, our siblings aren't married yet, and like and being really practicing Catholics that are like nearby that have been a part of these kids' lives, and it's always important for us to have them nearby when this is happening. Sure. And you guys fit like check so many boxes for this. And
man. So I'm speechless. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So hey, if you guys are willing to, we would love to have you.
Let me talk. I'm sure Fatima will be all for it, but yeah, let me definitely let her know. I might just like let her listen to this. Like, just hey, Fatima, listen to this part of the podcast. Let me know what you think. Like, should we take it out? Yeah, it'll be really funny.
And we'll let you know when the dates are. We'll work with whatever definitely. The coming months.
100%.
But I know sometimes you have godparents figured out. We were waiting to see. God has provided us with a child. We didn't know what gender it was, and everything kind of took form about this decision. So that would be awesome if you guys do that.
That's great. Really yeah, praise God. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
So, anyways, to wrap this up, any shout outs?
Yeah, a couple. Let me a couple shout outs. I put on a Facebook message a couple days ago. I'm looking for, and for the listeners, if you have anything, email us at badcatholicdads@gmail.com. I'm looking for Catholic events or conferences to be a vendor or speak at to spread Bad Catholic Dads and our mission/ministry. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be in the area. I mean, I'm willing to drive. If Derek is free, I'm sure he'd want to come with me. I posted something on Facebook the other day, and I got awesome responses from a bunch of friends. So I don't want to name them one by one, but all the people who liked that status and who commented on it, picking different events and conferences for me, and all this advice to spread the word of Bad Catholic Dads and the mission of our podcast and our ministry. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. So those are really the shout outs that I have this week. So thank you. Yeah.
Any shout outs I have, it just deals with any of the prayers that people gave for our family during this time. And if you can continue them too, with me going to work camp.
I can't believe that. How are you feeling about that? Leaving?
It's weird.
Is she going to be there with the 4 kids by herself?
My mom is actually going to come down from New York to help.
Yeah, so that's great.
That's key. But I do feel really strange leaving. I don't want to. It's been so busy to get ready for, because I'm leading the music too, and it's just like my brain and my heart is like all kind of like a little bit jumbled, because it doesn't feel real. And but that's coming up. So if you can keep her in your prayers, that's awesome. And I really appreciate just people praying for us. That helped it get up to the delivery and now. So thank you. That's my shout out.
Sure. Backlog of food. You have on the show notes backlog. What?
Dude, because I get responses like, because I don't like crab cakes, I get called out for it. And I get called out for not liking sushi. So
that's so funny.
I have a backlog.
Hey, I'm allergic to crab cakes. I love crab cakes, but I'm allergic to them. So,
I don't like them, so I don't know if that means I'm allergic too. But apparently I'm going to be brought out to have crab cakes and also sushi at some point. So, if you guys, whenever you want, if the listeners ever want to feed us, just let us know. We're game.
We are definitely down. Before we go, a couple announcements, Derek. I just sent out, I think this is something new I started. I don't know if I'm going to keep it going every month, but I'm going to try. I'm doing a newsletter at the end of the month on everything kind of we did in the past month for Bad Catholic Dads. So if you want to be on that newsletter, email me at badcatholicdads at gmail.com, or check out our Patreon. You can subscribe for free. Actually, not many people know that. On Patreon, you can subscribe for free, and you can get the newsletter there.
Nice.
So if you don't know, we've done 15 episodes to this point. So check them out on iTunes and all the podcast services. I said already, we're looking to speak or be a vendor at a conference or a Catholic event. So if you have any ideas for that, support us on Bad Catholic Dads on Patreon. Derek and I had this funny conversation right before we got on the podcast that, it takes a little bit of money to, not make a little money, but, to advertise. And
you have to spend money to make money.
You got to spend money to make money, basically. And, for us, it's never been about the money, but, so many hidden costs with just advertising and getting
equipment breaking
down, trying to get this on the road. So check out our Patreon page. If anything, subscribe to us for free. You get our newsletter, and you can even look at our story there. The vlog, my announcement is that still doing the vlog. I have about 5 episodes on youtube.com/badcatholicdads. The vlog is going to take a break for a couple weeks. Post July 4, I'll have a new episode. Just because we're moving in a week. So everything's crazy right now. And then Bad Catholic Dads Squared. Derek, I had an idea for it. So if you, we usually do a book club discussion. Yeah. We don't know our book yet, and Derek's pretty busy with work camp. And by the time, we usually do it the first week of July, and I don't know if we're going to make it, Derek. So what I was thinking of, Derek, and we can talk about this more in the background, and I would just want to even talk about this on air just because I want to see what the listeners think. Instead of having it be a book club discussion, we can still keep the name, the jazzy, hipster BCD squared name, but instead it could just be called what you were. I think Derek, you threw this name out, Bad Catholic Dad Digital or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So the D would still be squared, right? D squared. So BCD squared. But we can read books. We can still do like a book discussion, but also kind of outreach that to movies, video games, other podcast episodes, other Catholic events, so we can go to stuff like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And because I think when we started it, books a month, we thought we could do it, but with you having a new baby and everything, Derek, and life getting pretty crazy, maybe we can just do movies, for the next episode and see where we go from there. The audience, if you want us to keep doing the book club discussion, please let us know. We're definitely down to do that. But if there's some movies that you think we should watch and talk about on the show, hit us up with that too.
Yeah, I like that change up idea.
Just
we can shuffle back. We can
always shuffle back, and it's still called BCD squared, so we can always go back to books and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
No, I like it.
And that's it. That's all the announcements that I have. So.
No, I think that covers everything. And everyone, please, if you can't help us out, financially or anything like that, that's perfectly fine. Just if you can follow, leave a review. That is
no reviews.
That's huge because it gives us hype, and that's always a good thing to just be like, all right, cool, we're doing something that people either listen to or or if you have like a different viewpoint on how to do this godparenting thing. We'd love to hear it because we're here to definitely learn, and we appreciate you listening. So anyways, anything else, John?
Yeah. Like just what Derek's saying, follow us, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, all that. Share it with your friends. Leave us a review. No new reviews again. Sad. But everything's cool. And to be honest with you, if anything, guys, just if you want to share, if you know someone who could really benefit from this podcast,
let them know.
Let them know. So that's all I have.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. This has been Bad Catholic Dads, and we'll catch you next week.